evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Twitter, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. As always, I'm Bryson Carver. Very excited to be with you on this Friday. A little bit more of a condensed show today. Nonetheless, about as loaded a three-topic show. Normally we do 5 topics. Today we're doing 3 as we could have. So going to lead off with Tom Brady, why I think his inability to close the door on a return back to the NFL matters is something, and there's 2 candidates to me, 2 teams that could sign Tom Brady in 2024, 2 teams to keep a watch for. Going to talk about that in just a second. Also, big night, big weekend for the Western Conference today. There's no basketball tomorrow, and Sunday to decide the play-in tournament, which could go a long way. Listen, there are 2 teams that folks look at in the play-in tournament out west, Golden State, my Warriors, and the Los Angeles Lakers, saying like, hey, if they get in, watch out. They could potentially make some noise in the postseason. I will detail how the final 2 games, and you include Sacramento in that, by the way, will play out, what the play-in tournament will look like for the Western Conference, and generally speaking, what the playoffs I think will predict will look like by Monday's show. Going to get into that. Also, at the end of today's show, my All-NBA teams, if I had a vote. So I have this segment. It's a favorite on the show. I love doing it every year, especially during football season. It's called
betting man.
If I Were a Bet Man. This is called If I Had a Vote. If I had an NBA MVP vote, or whatever the case may be, I'm going to give you who I'd vote for MVP, Coach of the Year, Most Improved Player, all the awards, as well as my All-NBA teams. Definitely stay tuned for that at the end of today's show. Very excited to get into that. My man, My Thoughts, My Opinions Sports Podcast, Devin, what's good, my guy? What's good, Devin? Hope all things are well. Devin's doing some great stuff on his show for sure. So obviously, everybody feel free to chime in the comment section. Love to hear your thoughts on whatever I'm talking about or anything else, generally speaking. But first, it seems old Tommy boy can't step away, which, listen, Tom Brady, who was on a podcast recently, the Deep Cut podcast. He got a haircut on a podcast, which I think is kind of dope. It's a cool thing. Sort of LeBron, the shop-esque. Maybe LeBron sort of started a trend with that, with the shop all those years ago. But Tom Brady was on a podcast talking about the prospects of, you know what? Maybe I come back this year. Maybe I don't. I'm not sure. Here's Tom Brady on the Deep Cuts podcast. We'll go ahead and play that soundbite for you on his thoughts about, who knows? I may come back. Here's Tom Brady.
100% retired.
Yes.
Let's say one day there's a situation, right? Maybe it's the 49ers, maybe, heading to the playoffs. Offense is great.
Patriots,
Somebody,
Raiders,
look,
could be, you never know.
God forbid somebody goes down. Would you pick up that phone?
I'm not opposed to it. If they would, I don't know if they're going to let me if I become an owner in an NFL team, but I don't know if, I don't know. I'm always going to be in good shape. Always be able to throw the ball. So to come in for a little bit, like MJ coming back, I don't know if they let me, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Okay, so that's Tom Brady. Not opposed to it. Here's what I think is really fascinating about this. Maybe this is me reaching. And sometimes I try and look and like, okay, let's see how I can, I look at a story, I look at something, like, let's see how, if I can look at this from a different perspective than what the general cookie cutter narratives of the media can be. Maybe I'm reaching. But if Joe Flacco doesn't play really, really well, he threw a lot of interceptions. People didn't talk about that till the playoff game when he threw 2 pick sixes against Houston. But nonetheless, Joe Flacco came in and was the best Browns quarterback last season. Signed off his couch and was nothing but average to below average. Like, he got to the point, I had the saying that there's some guys, Gardner Minshew to me is like the poster child for this category of low-end starter, high-end backup. About a decade ago, that was Andy Dalton. Maybe not a decade ago, about 7-8 years ago. That was Andy Dalton. It's Gardner Minshew now. Flacco wasn't even in that. And then Joe comes in. He's flinging it all over the field. The Browns offense is humming. It had some people thinking, hey, the Browns may make a run, which to that is said, come on, it's Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't go on runs unless they have LeBron James. But when you look at Joe Flacco, you're like, okay, this is pretty fun. You look at my Pittsburgh Steelers, Pickett, Trubisky, and Rudolph won 10 games. Now, that was far more Mike Tomlin than it was the quarterbacks. That's putting it mildly. But average quarterback play, and even the case of Flacco, about a month stretch of pretty good quarterback play can be enough sometimes. Tom Brady's not going to be on a roster on opening day. I feel 100% confident of that. And it should be noted, the kid in the podcast asked him, he said, 100% retired. And Tom said, yes. And then, of course, Tom went on to say, I'm not opposed to taking a phone call from a Raiders, from a Pittsburgh Steelers, somebody like that. Here's where I'm interested, though. There's two teams. One feels kind of obvious. The other, maybe not so much. Two teams that I think, if the quarterback situation goes haywire, or God forbid, knock on wood, somebody gets hurt, you're telling me Tom would say, nah, heck no, to any of these situations? Because I've heard the Jets, Tom ain't going to play for the Jets. Tom Brady will never be a Jet. I will put every dollar I have on that. He will not be a Jet. I heard that proposed the other day. No. Raiders, maybe, but because he's trying to get into the ownership group, as he said in the podcast, they may not let him. First is San Francisco. Now, we know Tom Brady is a Bay Area kid. I mean, he was in Candlestick Park when Joe Montana threw the pass to the late, great Dwight Clark and what was known as the catch to send the 49ers to the Super Bowl over the Dallas Cowboys and basically propelled San Francisco's dynasty in the 80s. Tom was there. Joe Montana was his idol. He was like, I'm chasing Joe. And then it got to a point where he said, I'm chasing Michael Jordan. If, God forbid, Purdy gets hurt, which I don't certainly hope it's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But if San Francisco, listen, first place schedule, older roster, Brandon Ayuk, looks like he's leaving. I just saw he unfollowed the 49ers on Instagram. I don't think Brandon Ayuk's going to be a 49er next season. If it starts to get a little dicey and there's a little bit of pressure on Kyle Shanahan, not like he's losing his job or anything, but it's like, hey, Kyle, loaded roster, man. Where's the ring? And Kyle looks around. He's like, yeah, Purdy's good. He is. But what's the chances that Purdy is going to replicate what he did a year ago when he had some people fooled that, hey, this might be the most valuable player in the league, when he's not even the most valuable player on his own offense? But his numbers, listen, led the league in pass rating, was a very, very effective player. And for the record, had a good last drive to beat the Packers in the divisional round, was awesome in the second half against Detroit, and was fine against Kansas City. Do you think Kyle looks at it and says, okay, let's just say for the sake of argument, Kansas City just gets back to what they usually do. They rolled in the regular season. Last year was an anomaly. They rolled in the regular season. Mahomes is awesome. Defense is outstanding. Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. And it's looking like, yeah, if we get to the Super Bowl, we're probably facing them for a third time in the last 5-6 seasons. Can Purdy go toe-to-toe with Mahomes? I mean, he couldn't go toe-to-toe with Mahomes in a down year. Mahomes' receiving core was horrible outside of Travis Kelce. Is Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes are in his league today? Not even close. Folks, Tom Brady in 3 years is going to be 50 years old. Okay, so that is to be taken into account. And it should be noted that a couple of years ago, Tom Brady did have 25 touchdown passes, did set his own, I might have set the NFL record. I know he set his own personal record for completions in a season. Now, a lot of that was a lot of dinking and dunking, playing from behind. I remember one game against the Cowboys, he had like 60 attempts because they were down the whole game, the playoff game against Dallas. So Tom was not at his second to last year in the league. I thought Tom Brady should win MVP over Aaron Rodgers in 2021. And then the year after, what ended up being his last year in Tampa Bay and presumably in the NFL, just wasn't the same guy. But that third down play, I think it was 3rd down and 4, tie game in the Super Bowl, 2-minute warning. You think Tom Brady's able to make that throw in the slot? Tom Brady loved his slot guys. Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Antonio Brown at some points in Tampa Bay. You think he wouldn't have liked that, been able to complete that nice little slot route, get the first down against Kansas City, bleed the clock down, walking off with a field goal? You think Tom Brady wouldn't have been able to finish that drive against Kansas City, in which, to Chris Jones's credit, he really was what affected that play, getting in the face of Brock Purdy and forcing an incompletion? Is Tom Brady elite? Nope, he'll never be elite again. I think that is undeniable. But if, no disrespect, but if Mr. Irrelevant, who certainly is better than where he was drafted, we can all agree on that. But if Mr. Irrelevant, who has limited arm strength, is mobile-ish, can be a little reckless with the ball, if he could get this roster to Super Bowl because it's that stacked, you're telling me a 2 to 3 month stretch of Tom Brady couldn't get them there? I don't think it should be dismissed. So to me, San Francisco is the most obvious one. San Francisco would give Tom the best chance to, hey, you know what? Wouldn't it be nice to add to my GOAT legacy? Mahomes is gaining. He's got a ways to go, but he's gaining. To say, I came back He said Michael Jordan style, like Jordan with the Wizards. And that's like I disregard the Jordan with the Wizards thing, but I also say to Jordan fans, let's not be too hard on LeBron for some of his downtimes with the Lakers. Okay, because he's way older and is way more productive. That's neither here nor there. Or not way older, way deeper into his career than MJ was. But Tom comes back, few months, picks up an 8th ring, widens the gap further. Now he has 2 more Super Bowls than any single franchise ever. You're telling me he wouldn't say no to it? Just for a couple months. Here's the second one. I think this is kind of fascinating. What if Pittsburgh called and Russell Wilson, wasn't shaking out? Now, listen, as a Steelers fan, had mixed feelings about the Russell Wilson deal. I've been very critical of Russ ever since his days in Denver. But I'm like, hey, look, he is better than Pickett, Trubisky, and Rudolph. It's an upgrade, and it's a cheap upgrade. He's making $1 million. Low risk, high reward, potentially. But if Russell doesn't play well, and if Justin Fields is not ready to take this team to the next level, given the fact that, folks, Pittsburgh, people forget, Pittsburgh swept Baltimore last season. They swept Baltimore. As great as that roster was, Baltimore smoked everybody except Pittsburgh. You're telling me Mike Tomlin, wouldn't it remind Tom of some of those old Patriot championships? Great defensive coach, Belichick, Mike Tomlin. Unlike New England, man, receivers and weapons galore. Pickens, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Pat Freiermuth. Chances are the Steelers are either going to trade for T. Higgins or go draft another receiver, and Lord knows the Steelers are great at drafting receivers. And you got a defense behind you. If you had a defense behind you, you got TJ Watt, you got Minkah Fitzpatrick, you got all these pieces. Alex Highsmith. You also added, by the way, Patrick Queen from the Baltimore Ravens, stole, one of the best defensive players in football, added him to your defense. You're telling me Tom wouldn't at least think about it? Go to a historically great franchise, team up with one of the greatest ever, Mike Tomlin, great defense, weapons. Tom Brady is, as any great athlete is, very media savvy, especially in New England, where, it was always do your job. It was the ultimate, I can't imagine being a beat reporter for the New England Patriots where, sure, you get some inside information that others wouldn't get, but you go to a Belichick press conference, you know exactly what you're going to get. I mean, we know typical cliche coach speech or quarterback speech, but it was like that on steroids in New England. And that's Tom. Tom was very aware, like any great athlete is, like any great quarterback is, whatever comes out of his mouth, it's going to go to all the papers, all the news outlets, to YouTube, TikTok, the whole bit. Tom could have very easily shut that down. Maybe it was just as simple as listen, this kid's got me on a show, I'm getting a haircut, it's just kind of barbershop talk. Maybe that's what it is. But do I think he'd at least consider it? Yeah, I do. I think he's got enough. The fact he's had this type of competitive juice for 23 seasons, takes a year off. We know his last year, there was the family stuff. There was the last year in Tampa. He really didn't want to be in Tampa. There's all that stuff sort of compounded on what was kind of a tough last season for Tom. Mind may be clear. Certainly you would imagine his body's still, like he said, in relatively good shape. I don't know. I don't think it could be dismissed. I really don't. A few comments here from Devin. The guy that did his haircut, big TikTok guy, go to random people and give out free haircut. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I mean, listen, shout out to all content creators out there. I mean, the fact that kid was able to land Tom Brady. I mean, my gosh, that's pretty good. He said, Devin says, no, Brady should not lace up, but the way the league is going in terms of the rules, he'll be protected. Yeah, and that's one thing that was, and I think Tom's a GOAT, obviously, but that's one thing that's been able to extend his career. It's another reason why Mahomes got a great chance to potentially catch him, given the pace that he's on right now, is because given the offense, the favorable rules to offense, that helps. And also, by the way, too, one of the things that hurt Tom at the end of his tenure in Tampa Bay, that offensive line was not good. And obviously for an older, immobile quarterback, that's going to hurt you. But San Francisco, Trent Williams, blocking your blind side, in pretty good shape, and good chance the Niners will draft an offensive lineman. And who knows, maybe I don't think they could add one in free agency at this point in the cycle. But San Francisco, you imagine, will be better on the O-line this season. And again, one of the greatest left tackles ever protect your blind side: Debo, McCaffrey, Kittle, Juwan Jennings. I mean, even without Ayuk, that roster's stacked on the offensive side, really good on the defensive side, at least really talented. I don't know how productive it'll be. And then in Pittsburgh, listen, great defense, weapons, great coach. I don't know. It should be at least considered. Okay, I just saw this on my feed. Joe Burrow, quarterback of the Bengals, obviously. See, I like this quote from Joe. Even as a Steelers fan, root against the Bengals, I love this quote by Joe. He says that he's pro-taunting. And I have ranted about this for a long time. Like, oh, people like, oh, you got to show respect to the game. It's like, guys, it's a game. Yeah, it's grown men playing and making $1 million, but ultimately it's a game. Have fun with it. As long as you're not like trying to injure the other team or doing something that's like seriously disrespectful, like calling them out of their name or like something like that. Like I'm all for taunting. Apparently Joe Burrow is too. He says, here you go. We're all grown adults that work really hard at what we do, and sometimes we'd like to show it. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt if somebody sacks me and taunts me like you made a play. I get it. Like, good for you. Good for Joe. I like that. That's Joe Burrow passes the vibe check. Let's put it that way. Transition to the NBA. And what was an important night last night out west, my Golden State Warriors win. We've been doing that winning thing a lot lately. 9 wins out of the last 10 games. 17 road wins of the last 21 away from the Chase Center. It would certainly appear that the Golden State Warriors road issues, get rid of Jordan Poole, it's not a problem anymore. The Golden State in what was to put it mildly, ugly game against the Portland Trailblazers, but came away with the dub, 100-92. Steph hit some shots at the end. Kevon Looney was awesome off the bench, made some big plays offensively and defensively. More importantly, but just as importantly for Golden State, the Kings lost to the Pelicans last night. Pelicans went up by as many as 20 early. I was keeping track of that game, obviously, as I'm watching the Warriors game. Sacramento cut it, to within 7, I think, in the third quarter. Zion obviously got hurt at halftime. Charles Barkley was teaching him how to fall at halftime, which was true, but nonetheless, it's Chuck, so it was pretty hilarious. But New Orleans won the game. And Sacramento, Golden State, and the Los Angeles Lakers are all tied right now at 45 and 35. We got a 3-way tie, and it goes 8-seed Kings, 9-seed Warriors, 10-seed Lakers. And as we know, play-in tournament came in 3 seasons ago, or really 4 seasons ago, if you think about it, 2021. The way it goes is top 6 seeds are in the playoffs, no questions asked. Go and get ready for your first-round series. 7 versus 8. The winner of that game, they're in the playoffs as the official 7 seed. Loser of that game plays the winner of 9 versus 10. You don't want to be in the 9 versus 10 game because if you lose, you're done. If you lose 7 versus 8, hey, you got another game. You got another shot to get in the playoffs. Lose 9-10, pack up, get ready to go to Cancun or wherever you're going on vacation. It's that simple. Your season's over. So, again, we can put up the tweet again. I might as well because we've clinched what I hoped we as in the Warriors, and against we, it's Dub Nation. It's all a big family. I tweeted before the Golden State Warriors played the Miami Heat. This is now 2.5 weeks ago. Okay. This is after the Warriors had come off a loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Steph Curry was great and nobody else was. Took the Timberwolves down the wire and just couldn't finish because Steph didn't have a secondary score. And for the 3rd time this season, the first time was, this was after the Jokic buzzer beater when he hit a half-court shot to beat my Warriors after we blew an 18-point fourth-quarter lead to even get to that point. And then a few weeks later, LeBron goes off, Steph goes off too, but the Lakers end up, winning in overtime against Golden State, in double overtime, actually. And at that point, Warriors are sitting at 19-24. And as a Golden State fan, as a guy who loudly and proudly picked us to win the championship this year, I was like, God, this ain't looking so good. We can't guard anybody. Steph doesn't have a secondary score. Draymond can't stay out of trouble. Like, this maybe season from hell part 2. Well, ever since then, the Warriors have been arguably the second or third best team in basketball record-wise. But after the Minnesota loss, I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm not going to sell stock yet, but I don't know. I tweeted this. March 26th. Warriors have 12 games left and sit at the 10 seed in tonight's game. I said on yesterday's show, again, a couple weeks ago, that I'm as close as ever to selling stock in my Warriors as a title threat. But if they can go 9-3 or better down the stretch, I'll maintain faith of another run. And of course, the Dub Nation hashtag there at the end. Well, since then, I said if we finish 9-3, folks, then the Warriors are 9-1. So they've clinched the 9-3. And minimum, they're going to get to 10-2 because they're going to beat Utah on Sunday. Utah's tanking. They play the New Orleans Pelicans tonight, and what's a massive game for Golden State and for the Pelicans to try and get in that 6th spot to avoid the play-in tournament altogether. Here's what's going to happen. And I said this on Wednesday's show. Maintain faith in this. What's going to happen is the Golden State Warriors are going to continue what they've been doing in the last few games. That's that they're going to run the table. They're going to beat New Orleans tonight in what's going to be a tough playoff-like atmosphere game. It's at Chase Center. The Warriors do have home court. In this one, Steph will play well. Clay and Draymond, who rested last night, are back tonight. We'll see if Kuminga's able to play. But Golden State will beat the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. Pelicans are on a West Coast back-to-back. Lakers will win out. They're going to beat the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. I have no doubts about that. And I think they're going to beat New Orleans in New Orleans on Sunday afternoon. The Sacramento Kings will lose tonight to Phoenix and then win their last game against Portland, but at that point, it won't matter. Golden State will be the 8th seed. They will take on New Orleans in the 7-8 playing game. The Lakers, who it feels like the sky's falling from a lot of media outlets, like, oh, the Lakers are done. Well, listen, AD's coming back healthy. Looks like he's over the, I'm not going to say concussion that he suffered on Sunday against the Timberwolves, but he got elbowed right between the eyes, missed the Warriors game due to headache issues. That sounds a bit concussion-ish. Maybe I'm reaching. But AD's supposed to come back tonight against Memphis. He'll definitely be ready for the play-in. And the Lakers will have a home game against Sacramento in the 9-10 playoff game. And my Warriors, in what was just a disastrous season, end up winning 3 more games than they did a year ago, in which they won a playoff series. End up as the 8th seed and are 1 win away from the postseason. And again, I maintain Golden State, I think, is the 4th best team in the NBA right now. Only teams that have ahead of them currently right now in this moment. Denver, Boston, Dallas. Dallas is playing unbelievable right now. I don't think they're getting enough love. But that's where I'm at in the Western Conference standings. I think, again, New Orleans is in a situation where if they win their last 2 games against the Warriors and Lakers, which that's a tall task, they're the 6th seed. If they don't, and Phoenix takes care of business, which I think they will, at that point, Golden State then becomes the 8th seed, and the Pelicans fall to the 7, assuming Golden State takes care of business on Sunday against Utah, which, again, Utah's not very good, so they will. But I don't know. This is not victory lap time. I mean that sincerely as the Warriors fan. This is not victory lap time because nothing has been finalized yet. You have a game tonight. You have a game on Sunday. But in a season where this team's better, that team's better, all those Warriors, the sky's falling, you got to break up the big 3. Steph Curry just may be past his prime. They just may be. Draymond, more trouble than he's worth. Steve Kerr, overrated. Warriors really shouldn't have traded Jordan Poole. They should have let go of Draymond and extended Jordan Poole, who's done nothing in Washington this year. And they'll be a win away from the playoffs this coming Tuesday. And of course, I think they're going to win that game against New Orleans, who they would have at that point beaten 2 out of 3 times this season, and then likely face OKC or Minnesota, 2 teams with minimal. OKC has no playoff experience. Minnesota has minimal playoff experience facing a team that, I don't know, has won 4 of the last 9 titles. Feels like advantage Warriors to me. And in both instances have the better coach. I'm just saying. So, listen, it is a good day to be a Warriors fan. It is a good time to be an NBA fan. Listen, this is going to be, I think, out east. Listen, Boston locked up the 1 seed a long time ago. Obviously, Milwaukee's fighting for their lives to stay at the 2 seed. I'm not going to lie, though. And again, Milwaukee, to me, is going out in round 1 regardless. I think they are in. The Giannis injury was just the nasty cherry on top of what's been an awful season for them by their standards. If they match up against Philly, Milwaukee could face 3 teams. One of these 3 teams in the first round. If they face Philly, Embiid, for as much as I've criticized Embiid for his playoff history, most of that has been in the second round. First round, Embiid's been great. And you look at Embiid, hey, fresh legs. Looks like he hasn't missed a beat. You wouldn't know Joel Embiid's missed 2.5 months with a serious lower body injury. Looks great. Maxi's been excellent. And so, you'll have those guys ready to go, assuming they win their playing game against Miami. If Miami wins, well, I don't know. That's the team that's gentlemen swept you 2 of the last 5 postseasons. Doesn't sound like the greatest matchup for Milwaukee. If they fall to the 3 seed, don't have to play either of them, but face Indiana. Listen, does Indiana play literally no defense? They don't. Listen, that's why I don't buy in the Pacers as a contender. Next year, we'll see if they improve that end of the floor. Right now, they're just not there yet. But Indiana's beat Milwaukee, I believe, 4 out of 5 games this season. And the one game Milwaukee won, The one game Milwaukee won, I think it was in November or December, Giannis like chased down the ball boy to get the basketball where he broke Kareem's all-time single-season scoring record as a Milwaukee Buck. It was just a weird situation. It's been a weird season for Milwaukee in every way, shape, and form. I think the Knicks are going to jump them. I think the Knicks are going to be the 2 seed. Milwaukee falls to 3. Cleveland's not playing well at all. I think Orlando probably skirts ahead of them, although Cleveland's schedule, they do have Charlotte on Sunday. Indiana stays at 6, I think. Philadelphia, Miami is going to be 7 and 8 seeds. Chicago, Atlanta, who the heck cares? Whoever wins that game is just going to play an extra. The winner of that game, their reward is they get another extra game of basketball because neither of those teams are beating Miami or Philly. They're just not. And then out west, listen, Denver, only 1 game up on Minnesota at OKC. Denver finishes against the Spurs and Grizzlies. Listen, San Antonio, Wemby, they've been a little frisky as of late, and they almost did beat the Nuggets not that long ago, albeit Denver was missing Jamal Murray. I think Denver wins out, gets the 1 seed for the second year in a row. Minnesota, I think, goes 1-1, which would then mean the Timberwolves fall to the 3 seed. OKC goes 2-0. They jump to the 2 seed. And then Clippers, Dallas, which, again, third time we'll be seeing that series. Clippers have won that series twice in the last 5 postseasons, but hey, Luka, if you look at his numbers and look at the games against the Clippers, he has cooked that team. And he has Kyrie, who's playing unbelievable right now. So, and then Phoenix, obviously Phoenix and New Orleans fighting to see who can avoid the play-in tournament, because obviously that's not an ideal position if you can get into the postseason straight up. So there you go. But I'm telling you right now, Warriors win out, Lakers win out, Kings 1-1, and Golden State. Just a couple weeks ago, will the Rockets jump the Warriors and get in the play-in tournament? Warriors missed the play-in tournament entirely. That's funny. Houston's what have they lost? I think they've won 1 game since then. Since that point, Golden State's won 9 of 10, and their only loss was a 2-point loss to Dallas, who's red hot. So I'm just saying, it's all come together for Golden State. Looks like a matchup against the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, dare I say, feels somewhat imminent. I'll leave it there. Last topic, again, shortened show today. We'll have tons to get into on Monday. Obviously, the draft is just getting closer. We're less than 2 weeks away from the first round. A couple Thursdays from now, we've got the NBA playoffs, which start next weekend. NBA play-in tournament is this coming week. So definitely a ton of stuff going on. Again, baseball, as much as I love it, still relevant. And I don't really want to talk about Major League Baseball because my Red Sox are doing what I figured we do this season. That's suck. But nonetheless, Masters are going on right now too. Tiger Woods breaking the record, 24 consecutive Masters that he made the cut for. So congratulations to the GOAT, Tiger Woods. Last NBA topic, but it is a bit of an extended one, is my, I do a segment usually every Friday during the football season, and then at times throughout the year whenever I feel it's appropriate, is I don't bet. I'm not old enough to bet, but I don't bet in general. And obviously sports gambling has absolutely exploded in the last 5 years. But I am fascinated with lines, with all these different things, regarding sports gambling. But I do a segment every Friday. If there's one game a week in the NFL season, say in week 8, it's the Browns and the Seahawks, and I think the line is wrong or right, or should be high, or whatever the case may be. I pounce on that and try to hopefully win my audience some money, because that's what we're here to do on Carving Up, is help the audience in any way, shape, and form we can. But I do a segment every Friday. It's called
Betting Man.
If I Were a Betting Man. Well, this is not If I Were a Betting Man, but what it is if I had a vote. Not as an American citizen, if I had a vote as an NBA voter for regular season awards. So I'm always fascinated by the discussions, and this is the first year, by the way, since Adam Silver instituted this new rule that you have to reach the 65 game minimum in order to qualify for postseason awards. So, with that in mind, looking across all the landscape of the National Basketball Association, before I even get to award winners, I want to start with my All-NBA team. So first team, second team, third team, All-NBA. We'll start with the first team, the 5, basically, and it's positionless, but I sort of went traditional to a certain degree up until really the third team All-NBA. But really the 5 best players statistically in the NBA this season, put it on the board right here. My first team All-NBA team, if I had a vote, would be Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic. That would be my first team All-NBA right there. I hear the argument for Jalen Brunson. I get it. Obviously, you'll see him at some point today on any of the All-NBA teams. But Luka Doncic has been absolutely unbelievable this season. So he's averaging 34 a game with 9 rebounds and basically 10 assists when you round up on pretty darn efficient shooting, given how many shots he takes. Dallas, for the record, is playing much more, up-tempo, quicker, which is beneficial to Luka, beneficial to Dallas. They're playing much better defensively. And for the record, if I had an MVP vote, and I'll get to this later, I don't think Luka can be any lower than third on the list. I think Luka has to be in the top 3 for MVP. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is absolutely in that conversation as well. He's in an unbelievable season for Oklahoma City, shooting over 50% from the field as a perimeter player, which is highly impressive. Obviously has a great, pull-up game. If he can get a consistent three-point shot, and he shot almost 37%, which isn't bad, he'll be even more lethal offensive force. I average 30 a game. Jason Tatum is, again, as I talked about a few weeks ago, I think is the most over-criticized player in basketball. Not in the sense that, you need to expect more out of him in the postseason, which, as I showed the stats, Jason Tatum historically has been pretty darn good in the postseason. Basically, as the moment gets bigger, he's great in Game 7s, great in elimination games, and a pretty good player as in the postseason as a whole. But Tatum, 27 a game, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 47 for the field, 37 from 3, 83% from the line. I mean, listen, he has been the best player on easily the best regular season team in the NBA. That's got to count for something. Again, this would be, by the way, for the record, if Tatum is able to do this, this will be 3 straight first-team All-NBA seasons for Jason Tatum. So let's start putting respect on number 0 for the Boston Celtics. Giannis has had an unbelievable year. Again, this has been a disastrous season in every sense of the word for Milwaukee. They're lucky that the East is very weak this year relative to the West. The Milwaukee Bucks right now have 49 wins this season. That would qualify for 6th in the Western Conference. Okay, so and they're 2nd in the East. But Giannis is averaging 30 and 11 on 61% shooting. I don't believe that's ever been done in NBA history. Now you see his 3-point shooting percentage, free throw shooting percentage never has been that good. I don't anticipate will ever improve much in that regard. But again, 30 and 11, double machine on 61% for the field. I'll take that. As I say about Giannis all the time, he is, in my mind, without a doubt, the most dominant player within 5 feet of the basket since Shaquille O'Neal. And the numbers bear it out. Obviously, he's already got 2 MVPs and a Defensive Player of the Year award with the Finals MVP a few years ago. And as I talked about, this week, I think Giannis will play his final game as a Buck this month. For Nikola Jokic, listen, the numbers speak for themselves again. 26, 12, and 9, 58% from the field. Again, for a big guy, 36% from 3 is excellent, and basically 82% from the line is tremendous as well. Obviously, will be one of the finalists for MVP. Very well may win his 3rd regular season MVP. And again, this is something that matters. The guy is as durable as they come. So that's my first team All-NBA. Second team All-NBA. Let's go and put it on the board right here. In order, as follows. I have Steph Curry, Jalen Brunson, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. So outside of Jalen Brunson, basically 4 of these 5 guys are established NBA superstars. All are going to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. Jalen Brunson might be putting together a resume in the next 5 years or so to put himself in that conversation. Starting with Steph. Listen, he's averaging 26 a game. The shooting percentage, certainly for Steph, is not as good as we would expect from him. The 92% from the line is, but 45% from the field, a little over 40% from 3. Now you got to factor in Steph is leading the league by a mile in 3-pointers made. He becomes the first player ever, shocker, to hit 353 3-pointers in a season. James Harden's the only player in NBA history that's done that once. So Steph, greatest shooter ever. We already know that. But again, not Steph's most impressive statistical year, but it's like what I've talked about for years with Mahomes. There's been years where he's thrown 27 touchdowns, and you'll see these shows. What's wrong with Mahomes? Listen, if 26 a game and leading the league by a mile in 3-pointers is a down year for Steph Curry, give me that down year. So Steph is 2nd team All-NBA as far as I'm concerned. Jalen Brunson's been awesome this year. Again, you could make a reasonable case he's 1st team All-NBA. I think he's 2nd team All-NBA, but that doesn't, minimize what he's done. 28 a game, 6 assists, 7 assists if you round up, 48% from the field, 40% from 3, 84 from the free throw line. He has been the driving force for a Knicks team that did lose Julius Randle, who was an all-star this season. He's been the driving force of a Knicks team that could be the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And listen, this was always the Knicks for the last few seasons prior to getting Brunson were good. They were well coached. Tom Thibodeau, Randle was solid. But man, ever since they added this guy, Okay, get to the second round, last year. Have the potential to maybe, given how wacky the East is, they may get to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. Listen, Dallas certainly misses him. Again, they obviously added Kyrie Irving, and that's helped tremendously. But listen, I didn't think Jalen had this in him. I didn't see him as the quintessential point guard in the sense that he can be a top 3 guy in the league. But hey, I think you can make that case for Jalen, certainly this season. So Jalen Brunson, second team All-NBA. Kevin Durant has had one of the most efficient seasons we've ever seen. He's averaged 27 a game on 52% for the field, 41 from 3, and 85% from the free throw line. His numbers have tailed off a bit. There was a point in time when he was averaging 30. He's been through a little bit of a slump as of late, but nonetheless, you look at KD's numbers this season, that's typical Kevin Durant numbers. And let's not forget, we talk about LeBron's longevity, even Steph to a certain degree. Folks, KD's in year 17. Like, he's no spring chicken at this point. Obviously, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Averages the same amount of assists as Steph, which did surprise me a little bit. KD's always been a pretty good distributor. I think he showed that in his time in his 3 years in Golden State. But listen, as wacky of a season as this has been for Phoenix, Kevin Durant's easily been the driving force for what's at least been a good team. While I still don't buy him as a championship contender, KD's been excellent. He, to me, is second team All-NBA. The longevity of this man is insane. LeBron James, 25, 7, and 8 on 53% for the field, 41% from 3, 74% from the free throw line. Again, this has been, it feels like LeBron's averages post 2018 when he was by a mile the best player in the world. He hasn't gotten to that level. Again, Father Time is undefeated. LeBron is 39 years of age, but again, year 21, this is nuts. And even for a guy, if he was in year 10, 25, 7, and 8, pretty good. So he gets his teammates involved. He's not afraid to get involved in the glass. Obviously, we know the locomotive that LeBron is physically and is, again, an efficient scorer. And by the way, by far the best three-point shooting season of LeBron's career at 41%. He's improved tremendously from beyond the arc. And again, very efficient. He's again, locomotive, getting to the basket at will. Anthony Davis is second team All-NBA. Like, I think this, when I was watching Inside the NBA last night, and obviously best sports show on television as far as I'm concerned, with Kenny, Shaq, Ernie, Chuck. But I forget, I think it might have been Kenny that was like, hey, Anthony Davis has not had a great season. If 24 and 12 on 55% shooting is not a great season, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, you can make a case. I wouldn't make it, but you can make a case that Anthony Davis has been the best player in the Lakers this season. I would still go with LeBron, and I still think LeBron is, in an odd way, somewhat underrated in terms of where he ranks. Like, there's guys above him on many people's lists, like Joel Embiid or even Luka Doncic, who's been awesome. I'd still, right now, take LeBron James over. But Anthony Davis has a case to be Defensive Player of the Year. Anthony Davis, again, has been efficient scoring, and most importantly, and people bag on him for missing the Warriors game and whatnot. Folks, the guy had a headache. And by the way, he has been the definition of reliable. I'm not even going to play the coin flip Davis, Gene Hackman gif, because it doesn't apply. Because Anthony Davis has been, by and large this season, the definition of available and consistent. I was critical. Listen, I was critical of the Lakers for extending him this past offseason. I'm like, hey, let him play his contract out, then see what you're going to do with him, especially depending on what LeBron does this offseason. And so Anthony Davis, absolutely second team All-NBA, has been, in my opinion, obviously with the Embiid injury, you factor that in, to me, the second best center in all of basketball. Anthony Davis, second team All-NBA. So there you go. To third team All-NBA. Let's put that list up here. In order, these 5 guys make third team All-NBA. Last 5 guys to be All-NBA. Tyrese Halliburton, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, Paul George, and Domantas Sabonis. Starting with Tyrese Halliburton. This was a guy, this is the first instance, and I think we'll see this in the future, because we know making All-NBA, get a lot of money off that. I think about $40 million, I'm not mistaken. So your wallet gets fattened quite a bit by making this list. Tyrese Halliburton, a young player in this league, year 4 for him, recognized that and said, at one point when he got injured mid-season, we're thinking, hey, he's going to miss a lot of time. He played and fought through the injury to a point where it's like, man, the guy really shouldn't be out there right now. The Pacers might be better off if he just takes some time off and comes back healthier. But sort of was able to work through the injury. I guess maybe has built a certain toleration to the injury. Averaged 20 and 11 assists, leads the league in assists, 47 from the field, 36 from 3, and 85% from the free throw line. This guy, again, is the definition of a quintessential point guard in the sense that he gets his teammates involved. Pascal Siakam, obviously, this is a really talented basketball team. Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, great offensive team, terrible on defense, but Tyrese Halliburton has had a really nice season. And by the way, led the Pacers to the in-season tournament final where they lost to the Lakers, for what that's worth. Devin Booker, listen, he's the Again, if Halliburton's the quintessential point guard, Devin Booker's the quintessential two guard. 27 a game, did average 7 assists this season as the de facto point guard for the Phoenix Suns, even though that is not his natural role, and the Suns will be done in this season because they don't have a point guard. But again, 49% for the field as a perimeter player is very, very impressive. 88% from the line, 36%, by the way, from three-point range. If Devin Booker's the second best player on your team, in theory, you'd think he'd be a title contender. The problem is the Suns aren't because they have an unreliable big man, no point guard, and again, the health concern is a real thing. A lot of folks would have Anthony Edwards second team. I got him third team All-NBA. I think Steph has had a by and large more efficient season and has dealt with more in the sense that, the internal stuff in Golden State. But listen, Anthony Edwards could be the face of the NBA, at least the American face of the NBA moving forward. 26 a game with 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 46 from the field, 36 from 3, and 83% from the free throw line. Steph's efficiency as well, something I'm going to talk about with Steph later in the show when I talk about some of the awards, because Steph is going to get an award, and I'll detail that later. Steph, a slightly more efficient season, dealing with more within the organization, but Anthony Edwards, again, just gets better and better every single year and is not going anywhere. And by the way, just has the charisma, all of that. We saw him in the movie with Adam Sandler a couple summers ago, so props to Anthony Edwards. But I put Paul George in over Kawhi Leonard. I'm sorry. Listen, the guy's averaging 23 a game with 5 rebounds, 47 from the field, 41% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. So this guy has been the definition of efficient. Has stayed healthy by and large this season. We know that's been a question for Paul and Kawhi. Listen, I don't buy in the Clippers as a title contender at all because I don't trust Harden. Westbrook's a little iffy in the playoffs, even in the reduced role. And we know Kawhi Leonard, as great as he's been, we don't trust him physically. Don't trust Paul George particularly physically. But listen, did enough to qualify for postseason awards. So Paul George, 23-5, 47, 41, and 90% shooting splits. That'll work any day of the week. And Paul George, to me, makes third team All-NBA over his teammate Kawhi Leonard. And listen, as much as I don't believe in this guy in the slightest in the playoffs, Domantas Sabonis has to be All-NBA, okay? 19 points, 13 rebounds, almost 14 rebounds, leads the league in that category. Double-double machine. 8 assists, by the way, on 59% from the field. Again, the three-point shooting splits, 38% essentially is not bad, but he doesn't shoot a ton of threes, so that has to be factored in as well. And again, for the free throw line, 69%. That's not great. But again, good distributor, good playmaker for his teammates. Again, double-double machine, 19 and 13. Played pretty well last night, by the way, against the New Orleans Pelicans. Again, the Kings don't play any defense, so that kind of did them in the long run. But yeah, that's my All-NBA teams. I know there's cases for other guys out there, but to me, those were the 15 best players in the NBA this season, statistically. In terms of the guy that qualified, obviously Embiid missed a lot of time, so he didn't qualify. But yeah, we can show it one more time before we end the show, get into my award winners. First team All-NBA, I got Luka, SGA, Tatum, Giannis, and Jokic. Second team All-NBA, I got Steph, Brunson, KD, LeBron, and AD. Third team All-NBA, I got Tyrese Halliburton, I've got Booker, Anthony Edwards, Paul George, and Domantas Sabonis. So, before we get out of here, NBA regular season awards before we get into the postseason. Listen, we know the postseason can, as I often say, validate or invalidate who you are and who you hope to be in the regular season. First off, Coach of the Year, to me, I think this is a pretty easy one. It's Mark Dagnall of the Oklahoma City Thunder. You talk about Oklahoma City this year. I thought Oklahoma City was going to be a playoff team. They almost got in last year via the play-in tournament. I thought SGA was going to have a great year, but you consider that's the youngest team in the NBA. Like the old guy, Lou Dort, on the Oklahoma City Thunder is like 27, 28 years old. Like he's still relatively young. Maybe isn't even in the prime years of his career yet. And so you consider what this guy took over the job, I think in 2020 after Billy Donovan went to the Chicago Bulls. It's a very young team that's just gotten better and better every year. He's done a great job developing the young stars. SGA, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey, the whole bit. So Oklahoma City, I think, is going to be a team to reckon with in the postseason, and Mark Dagnall deserves a ton of credit there. He, to me, is the coach of the year. Sixth man of the year, I thought about Naz Reid for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I decided, however, he is injured right now, probably will miss the rest of the season. However, he did meet the 65-game requirement. I'm going with Malik Monk of the Sacramento Kings. Some of this might be loyalty to the fact that I did pick Monk to win Sixth Man of the Year before the year started on my preseason prediction show. But this guy, listen, 15 points a game. This guy's dynamite off the bench, okay? He's a great finisher at the rim, can dunk on your head, even as a smaller guard out of Kentucky. He's an excellent three-point shooter. He just seems to hit big shots in the biggest moments. Again, the Kings weren't a contender before he went down, but losing that 15 off the bench, he's a guy capable of going for 30 any given night. Come off that bench for Sacramento and it was a devastating loss for him. But again, he did meet the 65-game requirement. Malik Monk, to me, is the sixth man of the year. Oh, an award that was introduced last year. I loved it. Props to Adam Silver. I'm glad it exists. In part because this should be recognized. This aspect of a player should be recognized in part because my guy's going to win it. Clutch player of the year. It's not even close. It's Steph Curry. It's not even close. With all due respect to DeMar DeRozan, who has had a great season in the clutch, here's some numbers for Steph Curry that clearly illustrate why he should win this award, okay? Steph Curry in the fourth quarter is fifth in points and first in three-pointers made while being 53rd in minutes played. So 53rd in minutes played in the fourth quarter this season, and he's got the fifth most points and the first most made three-point shots. Even better, in clutch games. Now, for those of you that may not know, clutch games, relatively new stat to my knowledge. Clutch games, that is, if a game is within 5 points, if the margin is within 5 points at any point in the final 5 minutes of a basketball game. Got that? Steph Curry in clutch games this year. First in points, first in three-pointers made, 10th in minutes. So gets it done in little time. Steph has hit multiple game-winning shots, dagger shots this season. He yet won it. Crazy game winner against Phoenix at one point. DeMar DeRozan has been great. All due respect to him, Steph is obviously clutch player of the year. He's been more clutch than DeMar in less minutes than DeMar and his team, for the record, which, listen, Golden State, I like the roster, don't love it. Steph has been able to carry them to this point. Steph Curry, to me, easily clutch player of the year. Most improved player of the year, one of my favorite guys in the NBA. He's so fun to watch. I think I picked Jonathan Kuminga before the season. Kuminga has improved a lot, but not as much as this guy. Just gets better every year, and the stats back it up. It's Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers. So Tyrese Maxey for Philadelphia. Here's some fun numbers for you Philly fans out there. Okay. Tyrese, rookie year, averaged 8 points. Second year, 17 points. Third year, 20 points. This year, 25.9, so essentially 26 points a game. He has two, not one, but two 50-point games on his resume. Yes, Philadelphia kind of floundered a bit with him beat out of the lineup for 2.5 months, but listen, to a certain degree, if they don't have Tyrese Maxey, I shouldn't say to a certain degree, in general, if they don't have Tyrese Maxey, they're done. The Philadelphia 76ers are cooked as we know them. They're probably in the 9-10 playoff game with a long road to go to potentially go on any sort of playoff run. But Maxey, the Sixers bet on him, made the smart decision, I said at the time, in betting on him as their number 2 guy to Embiid. When they traded James Harden to the Clippers, he's been more reliable than Harden. Again, he's obviously much closer to the prime of his career than Harden. He's ascending while Harden's descending. Again, 2 50-point games on his resume this season. Average 26 a game. Tyrese Maxey, to me, easily the most improved player. The rookie of the year, this is an easy one too, folks. It's Victor Wembanyama. I thought Scoot Henderson could be a contender for this award. I still believe in Scoot. I think he can have a nice, solid career. Brandon Miller's had a solid rookie season. But and Chet Holmgren does officially qualify for the award. Wemby's absolutely rookie of the year, folks. Wemby this season, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists on 46% for the field. Has put together some insane stat lines. I mean, there was the one game where he almost had a quadruple double. I mean, the guy is just a freak. He's in Nike, who he's with, teased a potential logo for him, and it looks like an alien. It's like, yeah, he's an alien. He's 7'5", can handle the ball, can shoot, is a monster on the defensive end. The guy's been absolutely unbelievable this season. Listen, given the hype around him, given the overall talent and upside surrounding this 19-year-old, now 20-year-old kid coming into the NBA, I said, listen, if he stays healthy, he will be one of the 10 greatest players of all time. I absolutely believe that. I think his rookie season shows you he has all the potential in the world to become that and to become the face of the NBA within the next half decade. Wemby is oh my God, he's so special. Wemby, rookie of the year. And Wemby is also defensive player of the year. Give it to him, okay? I'm hearing it's Anthony Davis. You could make a case for Anthony Davis, but more so people are saying, hey, Rudy Gobert. I mean, listen, he's already got 3 defensive player of the year awards. Give him 4. Okay. So what's Rudy's primary strength on the defensive end? What is it? Well, he's a rim protector. He's a great shot blocker. Okay. Ready for this? Rudy Gobert, in the last 2 seasons, has blocked 245 shots, has played 141 games, and a little over 4,500 minutes. So got that 4,500 minutes, 141 games. He's blocked 245 shots. This was the other day. when I saw the stat. So Rudy has 245 blocks in the last 2 seasons. Victor Wembanyama has 245 blocks this season in less than half the minutes. Wemby had 245 blocks in 4,500 minutes. Rudy, 245 blocks, 4,500 minutes. Wemby, 245 blocks in a little over 2,000 minutes. 2,036 minutes, to be exact, 69 games. And he's better at guarding the perimeter than Gobert. Like, to me, this is, and if they give it to Anthony Davis, I won't have an issue with it. I think it could be like a potential makeup for the fact that AD absolutely should have won 6 years ago in 2018 over Rudy. The fact that Rudy has 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, I think is a disrespect to the award itself. Because to me, a guy who can't guard the perimeter should not be Defensive Player of the Year at any point. Victor Wembanyama, again, the case for Rudy, hey, great shot blocker. Wemby's better. Less time, way less minutes. He has just as many blocks. So Wemby, to me, should be Defensive Player of the Year. And the granddaddy of them all, the one we discussed before the season. We haven't really discussed that much this season, which is a little weird. But MVP, listen. To me, there's 3 guys that are in this discussion. Jokic, SGA, Luka. Now, Luka statistically is the best of all 3 of them. 34 game, 9 assists, 9 rebounds. 9 rebounds, 10 assists. SGA, though, 30 points a game, led the youngest team in the league to minimum a top 3 seed in the tougher Western Conference, and did so, by the way, on over 50% from the field. Jokic, 26, 12, and 9, so again, virtually a triple-double machine, very efficient shooting, and makes all of his teammates significantly better. It's tough. All 3 have a more than compelling case. I'm going with Jokic. Now, again, some of this, like my Malik Monk pick, some of this is loyalty to the fact that I did pick Jokic before the season to win league MVP, and I did consider Luka, and Luka, to me, absolutely has a case, arguably better than SGA, although SGA certainly has one. But some are, and a year ago, I was one of these people, are like, oh my God, you're going to give Jokic 3 MVPs? You're going to give him more than Steph, Duncan, Kobe, Shaq? Like, are you kidding me? I think you have to. So I still say Jokic, the second MVP he got, he should not have gotten. I thought Steph should have gotten the first time that Jokic won MVP, but hey, Steph missed the playoffs, whatever. The second time, Giannis was better. Giannis was more, and by the way, Jokic and the Nuggets were the 6th seed. So if anybody arguing, hey, Luka's the 5 seed, well, Jokic won as the 6 seed, so that should be factored in as well. But I think, again, the advanced analytics, the advanced numbers, heck, the eye tests say Jokic has been better and more valuable, and I'm in the minority of people that believe we should take the valuable word into account. I absolutely believe that. SGA has been incredibly valuable at OKC when he missed those few games. Didn't look like the same team. Dallas was 4-6 without Luka. Here's the thing that I think should contribute to Jokic's MVP candidacy in 2024. He's missed 3 games this season. 3. And again, Denver's been in the chase all season long with Minnesota and OKC to be the 1 seed. That's going to matter as well. So it's close. There's a more than valid argument for SGA and Luka. But me personally, if I had a vote, I would give it to Nikola Jokic. And the championship last season helps, no question. So that's what I got for my awards. So we could put it up one more time. Again, I've already given my All-NBA team, so we don't have to relitigate that. But down the list, Coach of the Year, I give it to Mark Dagnall of the Oklahoma City Thunder. 6th Man of the Year, I give it to Malik Monk of the Sacramento Kings. Clutch Player of the Year, let's go Dubs. Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors. Most Improved Player, Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers. Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. Defensive Player of the Year, Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. And Most Valuable Player, Nikola Jokic of the defending NBA champion, Denver Nuggets. That's what I got. So, shortened show today for Carving It Up Live. Massive games going on tonight in the National Basketball Association. A lot of NFL stuff. Draft is just getting closer and closer and closer. Very excited. I'm going to tease this a little bit. We've got a mock draft coming up on the Grid Network very, very soon. You want to keep your eye out for that. More information, more details to come as the days pass. Ton of stuff going on. April, to me, is probably the most active sports month out. So like October is not going to be surpassed. NFL's midseason. College football's midseason. You know, WNBA, who I think is going to get more popular because of Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink. WNBA finals are in October. Major League Baseball postseason is in October. NBA starts in October. Hockey starts in October. So October is not going to be surpassed. April's not far behind, though. NBA playoffs, baseball starts, Masters, NFL draft. Caitlin Clark's getting drafted on Monday by the Indiana Fever, so we're going to have a ton to talk about on Monday's show. So with that is all the time we have for today's show. I appreciate everybody stopping by. Be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time right here on Twitter, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. Of course, be sure to like, share, comment, and please take 2 seconds out of your day. Hit that big red subscribe button down there if you're on YouTube. Helps the channel grow exponentially. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by next week's NBA playoffs. I think we're at 941 the last time we checked, so thank you so much for your support. If you have subscribed, please tell your friends to subscribe, your family to subscribe, everybody but your sleeping cat. I can tell you, my cat's in a bad mood today. The weather's not great where we're at. Like, he's not in a good mood. So don't tell your sleeping cat. Tell everybody else, though. If you have not subscribed, again, just takes a couple seconds down there. Hit that big red subscribe button, and you are part of the Carving It Up family. And just as importantly, please be sure to go subscribe to the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network, right here on YouTube, as well as any and everywhere you get your favorite podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, any and everywhere you get your favorite podcast. Check out Patrick Brown, by the way, gridnetwork.com, our website. He writes some great pieces for the website as far as our content creators on the audio and digital side in general. Be sure to check us all out on the website as well as on YouTube and any and everywhere you get your favorite podcast. So much going on in the world of sports. It's cannot wait. Draft, playoffs. Warriors are going to win out. Lakers are going to win out. Kings are going to go 1-1, and the Dubs are going to steal the 8th seed. And folks thought they might miss the play-in tournament altogether. Good time to be a Warriors fan, I'm not going to lie. All right, see you on Monday. Please be sure to stay safe out there. Please be sure to take care of your physical as well as your mental health. And please be sure to contact your local state representatives and senators to demand change for gun violence in America. I don't care where you lean, left, right, center. This affects each and every one of us, and it's something we have to stop. Anybody who tries to tell you there's one solution to this, they are lying. They're disingenuous. There's a ton of solutions, but we got to get stable. We got to get working. So let's be sure we do our part as citizens to stop this problem altogether. All right. See y'all on Monday. Cannot wait to talk about the Warriors, the 8th seed, 1 win away in the play-in tournament from getting in the playoffs, taking on OKC or Minnesota. I like Golden State's chances in that series. Not going to lie to you. All right. See y'all on Monday. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. Watch out for them Dubs. Warriors come out to play. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.